Welcome back to my channel, The Unedited Couch. Today, you've got me. Now, I want to take you back to the 80s. I'm about 9-10 years old, and I'm walking with my mum and my sister up the hill to school. It's a school morning. I've red, puffy eyes, my cheeks are stained with tears, side of my head hurts, because mum was doing my hair, and if you ever moved or flinched, she'd smack you with the brush. And so I was trudging along through the wet grass. I lived in a seaside town, so you could smell the sea air. And as we went up, and as you go up the hill, on the top of the hill, my school was just up over to the right. And from the top of the hill, it was absolutely gorgeous blue day, and you could see the ocean. And my mum was really angry, really angry. And I remember her saying to me, she was giving us lectures about, getting ready for school in the morning and that. And I remember her saying in a really gruff voice, "I wish I never bloody had you kids." And I remember that moment. I remember the most pain in my chest. I remember the most excruciating pain, like my heart just broke. I remember my whole body feeling like it just dropped. It was the most beautiful day, and I was in the most beautiful part of Australia, and from those simple words, I remember my whole world just fell apart. We turned around, my sister and I walked off to school and continued the day. From that moment on, from those words, it had a massive effect on my life. It had a really profound effect. With a lot of other things that came along, more words, more beatings, things like that. I remember even as a child being really unhappy and really depressed, and I didn't know what the label for it was, but I remember feeling really sad and really unhappy. And I even remember nights I'd lie in bed and I would put my pillow over my face and I would try and stop myself from breathing, and I would sit there and I would cry and I would pray to God so hard. Please, God, don't let me wake up in the morning. Please, God, I will do anything. Please take me away from this world. And I can distinctly remember that in my primary school days. I distinctly remember crying myself to sleep because of whatever had happened that day. I was very good at putting on an outside mask when you go and play with your friends, and that, as kids do. It's a survival, it's an adapting process. There was never any acknowledgement or never a sorry or anything like that from my mum. And those words, even now, like I'm about to turn 43, and those words, I can still feel that raw emotion. I can still feel that moment that it literally felt like my heart broke. And as I went on through life, even in my early teens, I think I really hit deep depression then. And although the physical had stopped, a lot of the mental abuse still carried on. And the words were probably the most painful out of everything that I went through. And I want to talk about it. I think we need to talk about it. It's not my fault. Like, my sister and I weren't naughty kids. We were the most gorgeous little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls. We were too scared. We were too scared to be naughty. We had the most beautiful friends, and we lived in the most beautiful towns, and we tried to live every day to the fullest. But there were those behind the closed doors. There was things that were happening, and I know just how much words can have an effect on a child's life. And you see all these mottos going around, if you tell a child they're stupid enough, they'll believe it, and things like that. And it's so true. Like, and I think we need to talk about it. I think there are so many other people out there, adults out there just like me, and we need to talk about what those effects had on our lives. And one thing, I'm still working towards forgiving my mum. I'm struggling with the forgiveness side. A friend of mine told me to write a letter to mum. She may not ever receive it, but a letter to mum saying of all the things I'm grateful for. And I really am. Like, I'm actually a mum of 4 most beautiful children. I love my children dearly, and my children have never ever heard me speak those words to them. They have never ever heard me tell them that I don't love them, that I hate them, or I wish I'd never had them. My children have never ever heard those words come out of my mouth, and I am really grateful that I am aware of what damage those words can do to a child, and I am grateful that my children will never ever experience that. I am grateful that I am able to pass that advice on to other people. And look, being a parent is one of the hardest things we'll do. And I know, like, with 4 kids, there are days that I just, but we have to be, even in those moments of pure anger and pure frustration, which I know all children get us in, we have to be very, very careful of how we act and what we say. And even if those words do come out of your mouth, like my youngest, my 8-year-old, she is very testing. And I remember she had just got me at my absolute tether's end, and I said to her, look, the way you're talking, the way you're acting, you're being an absolute bitch, and blah, 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 blah. And then later on, once I'd calmed down, I was like, oh, I really should not have said that. She didn't deserve that. That was me getting angry. And I sat down with her and I acknowledged the fact. If you acknowledge the fact that you've made a mistake to a child, if you've acknowledged the fact that you didn't mean it and you are terribly sorry, acknowledgement is a massive thing. And then apologizing, saying, look, I am really sorry. I was angry with you, and I shouldn't have said those words, and I am disappointed in myself that I've said that, and I'm really sorry. And if you make a conscious effort not to keep repeating that, then children will understand. But if you don't acknowledge that, if you don't acknowledge that you've said something accidental that you didn't mean to in the heat of anger, children really think that you actually really, really meant it, because you never said sorry, you never acknowledged it. And that is what hurts the most. We all make mistakes. We know that. As kids, we make mistakes. That's why we get a smack on the hand, don't do it again. But as a parent, my biggest advice to you, and if there's anything, like, even sit down and talk to your kids, look, honey, being a parent, it is not easy. Is there something that I have said to you? Is there something that I have done that may have upset you, that you're holding on to, that you're carrying? Talk to them. Communication is key. Talk to your friends, like, oh gosh, little Johnny was driving me nuts, and I said this and I called him that, or I did this and I wish I hadn't, I really regret it. Look, we're not going to judge everybody. Stop labeling each other as a bad parent. Start saying to your friend, look, I totally understand, but I do know that if you acknowledge and say to little Johnny, look, I'm sorry, little Johnny, I was really angry, I was stressed, this, that. Don't blame the child. Don't blame, because they are just being kids. Okay, to say, look, I was out of control, I was really angry, I didn't mean to say those words, I am really sorry, and I'm going to make a conscious effort. I'm really going to make a conscious effort to not say those things, and I'm going to try really hard. Like, that means so much to a child. You have no idea what that means to a child. And it is easier for a child then to move on from that, saying, oh, well, you know, mum had a bad day, or dad didn't mean to say those things. That is so much easier. But if you never acknowledge it and never apologize, the child definitely thinks, well, it must have been me. Okay, the child definitely thinks that you meant it. You meant every single word that you said. And that, believe me, even at 43, nearly 43, that can still have massive, massive effects on a person. You may not have understood or even realized that you said something, but talk to your kids. Don't just chuck it under the carpet, okay? Be big enough. Pull up your big girly panties and say, all right, well, you know, what is there something that I've said? Or even if you sit down, be honest with yourself and think, oh yeah, no, I remember a couple of years ago this happened and this and this, and I said that and I didn't mean it. Okay? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your kids. Acknowledge what you've done. All right? Kids are forgiving and kids are great. All right? But just please remember that the words that you say to kids really, really can affect them. Depression, unfortunately suicide, a lot of things, okay, can stem from things that we say and do as parents. Okay, thank you. Well, I hope this has really helped. Please contact me, message me, like my channel, subscribe, hit that bell so every time I post up a video, we've still got so many things to talk about, and I've still got so many people to interview. I can't wait. I am so excited. Please get in contact with me. I have a Facebook page called The Unedited Couch, which is great. Message me if you want to talk about anything. I am non-judgmental, and I'm going to stop all the labeling. And yeah, look out after each other. You know, we're not perfect. It's a hard gig being a parent, honestly. All right. Thank you. Bye.